Hello and welcome to Roundtable. Well, today we are going to be having a conversation with Professor Badri Narayan. He is a political anthropologist. He's also a director at the G.B. Pant Social Science Institute at Allahabad. He's written a lot of, quite a few books, in fact, exploring, he's written on the equation between Dalits and Hindutva. He's written on Professor on Kanshi Ram, he's written a book on him. He's written a book on saffron politics and Dalit mobilization. And now, of course, he's out with his latest book, The Republic of Hindutva. I think we should, can we have it on the screen, please? Welcome, Professor Narayan, and can you show us the book? If you have...
Yeah, thank you, Priya. Thank you for inviting me in your program. So this is my book. This is The Republic of Hindutva, How Sangh is Reshaping Indian Democracy. And it recently came out from Penguin.
It's a very timely book. It's at a time where there is a lot of focus, because of the Modi government. There is also a lot of focus on how the RSS functions, for the last, I think, ever since at least the BJP government has come to power. The decision you write in a book also to appoint Modi as the PM candidate was something that was taken by the RSS. Was it the RSS choice and then adopted by the BJP? How did that come about?
Priya, I think if you remember the time, 2014, when the entire tussle was going on within the BJP, that who is going to head become the prime minister candidate of the BJP, and that time Modi ji and Advani and Modi groups were tussling to each other, and in that time, I think Sangh took a position and they forwarded the candidature of Prime Minister of Narendra Modi as Prime Ministerial candidate. So Sangh has a very important role in that decision, and not only that, the role at the level of decision, Sangh also worked to disseminate or to become this message, create consensus around this message within the organization, within the rank and file, in the grassroots. So not only for taking the policy decision about the PM candidate, Narendra Modi as PM candidate, within the party, within the BJP, but also to disseminate the message, to make the consensus around that. They worked hard and they get it done.
So can you be a little more specific, because we know as to who all worked in the Sangh for Prime Minister Modi's candidature, because we know Ram Madhav was working on the ground in Gujarat. We saw Mohan Bhagwat also actually going and trying to convince Advani ji when Advani was not supporting his candidature. So who are the other people who were involved, and a little bit more as to how it all came about?
Priya, actually, as you know, the structure of Sangh, how Sangh works. There are a lot of churning take place on any issue within the Sangh itself, and face becomes someone, like Mohan Bhagwat represented Sangh to the door of the Advani to convince him to make consensus on the name of Narendra Modi. But there are many people who are working behind the curtain. And like the various Sangh Pracharak, those Sar Sangh Karyawah of those time, Suresh Soni, MG Vaidya, many of them, Dattaji was not so prominent that time, but they were all very important voice within the BJP, within the Sangh. So there was a kind of consensus within the Sangh that there is a need to a new generation should come in the politics as a leader, and Narendra Modi was a choice. So at various levels, Sangh worked, not only at the level of Mohan Bhagwat, even second level, third level, at the grassroots also, to get this decision and create consensus around the name of Narendra Modi. So that was very difficult time for not only for BJP, for Narendra Modi ji also. Because an entire nation, because a lot of debate, discussions within the pro-BJP forces and against BJP forces was going on. They were all involved on these issues. So Sangh always worked like parivar, family. So head of the family. So as a head of the family, they created consensus around this decision.
Now, how do you see things happening with the, Prime Minister Modi's prime ministership? Compare the role of Sangh in Modi's prime ministership versus the role of Sangh in Vajpayee's prime ministership.
I think it's a very good question, Priya, you are asking. If we compare, Sangh was also important in Vajpayee time. But in this time, in Narendra Modi time, there is two view. One view is say that Narendra Modi don't give importance to Sangh, and he makes Sangh.
मैंने भी वही सुना है.
हाँ, वो संघ को जमीन पे ला देते हैं, no, because the way he did in Gujarat, no, this kind of thing. But those who know the internal structure of governance of BJP, they know that Sangh views are very important in various ministries in taking the decisions. They are the Sangh Pracharaks, Karyakartas' views, their opinions. So Sangh is in this way can only advise, and the implementation will be done by others. It depends on the government. Government may take the decision, those opinions or not. But mostly Sangh, the situation of Sangh in the Narendra Modi government is very respectable. It's not the way it was conceived by a section of intellectual. It's again a kind of esoterical notion. I don't know from where it emerged, but of course Narendra Modi is a very mega personality, and when personality become mega, it influences various decisions in his own way. So Narendra Modi himself and his decision maybe influence Sangh also, but you know, Sangh is bigger than anything, any person, any individual, and there are various ways they take their decisions. So the influence of charismatic personality will never influence their decisions in very big way. You know, they can take those decisions, those opinions as the opinion of a pracharak who is working in the BJP, their own person, their own people, because Narendra Modi was also pracharak. He was also from Sangh. So his mental ways of thinking is also like a Sangh. No, it's a different kind of Sangh, because in the politics of democracy, he changed a lot. Politics of democracy change you a lot. But when you do the work in the Sangh and when you do the work in the BJP as Sangh Pracharak, you become two different personalities. But there are continuum. There are also connectedness between two personalities.
You know, you're exploring that, you said that RSS, the way you see it, is a very, it takes like an umbrella organization. It takes people from all strata of life, whether, on fields, whether it is Dalits, tribals. This is very contrary to the perception that we have of RSS being only an organization of Maharashtrian Brahmins. So how do you reconcile your view of it?
Priya, you are very right. Actually, the society is changing day by day, and democracy influences the entire setup of the condition of the nation. And in those changing form of society, Sangh needs to respond to those changes. And when society becomes democratized, and Sangh is also moving towards marginals, towards tribals, and they are imbibing them. They are including them in their own discourse. So earlier, maybe the Sangh, maybe the Brahmin, the organization of Maharashtrian Brahmins. And you are very right that in those days, if you remember, in 30s or 40s or 50s, the Sangh Pracharaks were coming from Maharashtra to work in Bihar or in Uttar Pradesh. But now they have cultivated a big human force. And in that, tribal, Dalits, marginals, and they include them by redefining themselves, because they are not fixed in redefining themselves. They are always flexible. Like they say Dalit, okay, Ambedkar. No, so they redefine the entire image of Ambedkar, or they redefine themselves also. They use their history, memory, identity resources to reach with them, and surprisingly, the way they work, they are very. It's tremendous. It's very amazing the way they work with the grassroots. I'll tell you one example. We had organized a program in one of my projects of the most marginal Dalit communities, and in that program, we invited various political parties to attend that program, because ultimately politics reshapes democracy, and this was the program on democracy for the marginals. And we didn't invite RSS or BJP in that. but we invited all secular left parties and the centrist parties. But the newspaper, news published in the newspaper about the most marginal communities, Sapera, Hari, Begad, small Dalit communities. And after 2-3 days, there was a news in the newspaper, local newspaper, that Sangh will work on those communities. So they took messages from our program and they started working among those communities. They opened the schools, Safai Abhiyan, hospitals, so various things. So they are very fast in responding to the situation. And that's why they are reaching to the marginal communities. And in that process, they are refining them, they are redefining themselves. What I also observed during my work, Priya, that the Hindutva social bhav is created in the base of our society. And it's moving, it's evolving. And I call it Hindutva common sense. And this Hindutva common sense always, and this is because of the effort of the Sangh. Since more than 100 years, I think they constantly work with the grassroots and the change the structure of the bhav of the society. And now it's moving towards Hindutva social bhav. And that Hindutva social bhav also reflect in the politics, and BJP lead that bhav in its politics. So
but politically, where are the Dalits voting? Are they voting for the BJP in UP, for instance?
You must have heard that in 2014, a very impressive section of Dalit voted to the BJP. And actually the BSP politics, which is very much dominated by the Jato and Chamar's image. And as I said, more than 65 Dalit communities are in Uttar Pradesh. But only 3 or 4 Dalit community got political representation during the Bahujan democracy. And most of the left out Dalit communities became a constituency for the Sangh to work with them. And I call them most marginal Dalit community, invisible Dalit community. I wrote a book that is called Fractured Tales. And in that book I wrote published in 2008, 8 or 7. And BJP worked on that line. And that line to work with non-Chamar, non-Jato Dalit communities in Uttar Pradesh. And they succeeded in that. So BJP worked, before that, Sangh prepared a kind of condition, a kind of social bhav or social relations. And based on those social relations, sometime, not always, BJP take it further and take it political.
So Mayawati, आप क्या सोच रहे हो क्या यूपी में who has the where will the Dalit vote go?
देखिए मायावती के साथ जो समस्या है कि मायावती एक तो जो मैं जो कह रहा हूँ कि जो ये 50 से ज्यादा दलित कम्युनिटीज तक अभी उनके दिमाग में ही नहीं है कि I need to reach with them, I need to approach them. They अभी भी वो दलित as a notion is very much is captured by her image is captured by the dominance of one caste, that is the Chamar, Pasi, Dhobi, Kori, 4 or 5 castes, those who are major in bigger Dalit caste in Uttar Pradesh. So these non-4 castes, after this 4 castes, many Dalit castes are moving towards Hindutva politics because two reasons. One reason is Hindutva is providing them political space. Hindutva means the BJP. Secondly, Hindutva means RSS is responding towards their urge of religious equality, because in various villages in Dalits they have their own aspiration of temples. They want their temple of their own icon, like Mushar want the temple of Sabri. Agaria Devi, Agara Devi, every Dalit community has its own deity, and now because they are becoming visible, they want their own temple, because temple is not only place of worship, it's also public space, and it's a representation in the public space. So and RSS is responding towards this kind of urges, which mostly secular democratic discourse, so secular centric discourse don't understand, and they don't respond, because they think only economic, social issues are important. But religious issues are also important in the life. They want their own deities to cry. If you go in Ravidas temple in Banaras, lakhs of Dalits women in the line, they throw sona on the statue of the Ravidas and cry. So religion had two meanings. Sangh understand this urge. So Sangh approached them with this kind of Seva Bhav, Seva project, school, hospitals, and then the religious urge. And the BJP worked with them on the base created by the Sangh to provide them democratic representation. So Mayawati is losing day by day. One because of she is not understanding this changing notion of Dalit community, their desire, because middle class has been emerged among Dalit also, and they have different kind of aspirations. So, and secondly, she is not able to understand that Hindutva common sense is becoming powerful even among Dalit and marginals because of work of the Sangh and the BJP kind of political organizations.
But I wanted to talk to you about how do you see the Congress as a party, how it has been, how do the Dalits feel about the Congress?
Priya, Dalit have especially Jamas and Jatos. Dalit has a memory about Indira Gandhi. No? Indira Gandhi, they remember Indira Gandhi, the work done during her time. So they have a good memory about the Congress, of the work done by the Congress, anti-untouchability acts through constitutions for their empowerment. But what is happening? Congress is not developing its own language to interact with the Dalits, because Dalits are changing, and this is the crisis of the Congress and also of Mayawati, because both are not able to change their language. Dalit aspirations are changing, their identity, sense of identities are changing, and these parties are even still talking in the old language of right politics of right. हम ये दे देंगे, हम वो दे देंगे आपको, ये जो हम देने वाला जो notion है ना, and they are not able to understand this Hindutva making of the personality, the identity, which are taking place day by day, becoming important day by day in the common sense of Dalit also.
So basically, they are being patronizing rather than giving them a sense of identity.
So Congress need to understand that Dalit community is also changing day by day, and their aspirations are changing. And one aspiration is and second is the challenges created by Hindutva. No? Hindutva, the kind of language, common sense Hindutva is cultivating among Dalits, Congress need to respond that also. Thirdly, Congress should come out from the language of NGO kind of language, NGO notion of development. No, you need to evolve a language which is very much suited to the social politics, because now politics is changing in the form of social politics, and that is also influenced by the Sangh. Because recently you have heard that Modi ji talked about social politics. No, now we need to do social politics. So the politics of the state should be linked with the social reconstruction, politics of social reconstruction. But Congress has no that kind of language to respond, neither language nor organization. There is no mass organization of the Congress who are working as Seva project with the community. So there is a lag, and Congress need to evolve in a new way to approach Dalit and marginals.
What about Chandrasekhar Azad? He is also emerging as a leader.
Chandrasekhar is working hard, and he is a street fighter. But his problem is, and he's popular among youths also, but his base and Mayawati base is the same. And that is the base of the Western UP, Jatos, and the Chamas of Uttar Pradesh, mostly caste base if you see. And even in that base, Mayawati is very strong. Because Dalit may abuse Mayawati, but at the time of, they may criticize Mayawati, but at the time of voting, they will prefer to vote Mayawati, especially a bigger section of Jatos, who are around 12% in the population of the Dalit population of Uttar Pradesh. So Chandrasekhar Azad has a challenge to displace Mayawati from the heart and mind of the Chamars and Jatos, who are leading Dalit community in Uttar Pradesh. And that's a very difficult and big task which she is doing. But slowly, because the way Mayawati is declining, maybe there may be a space for a Dalit leader like Chandrasekhar Azad, or maybe other. Dalit communities is a कहते हैं ना बहुरूपी कम्युनिटी, यानी बहुतों के लिए स्पेस है वहां पे, जिसको कहते हैं ना डायलॉजिक, इसको क्या कहते हैं, इसको कहते हैं कि सिर्फ एक ही ग्रुप उसको कैपिटलाइज करके नहीं रख सकता, किसी के लिए भी स्पेस है वहां. But you need to evolve the language, you need to evolve your associations, and let's see what's happened the way Chandrasekhar is working. There are a space for Congress, there are a space for Chandrasekhar Azad, there are a space for Mayawati, but Hindutva is rising in a big way among Dalit and marginals, and that one should understand. And it is because of the Seva project, it is because of their Hindutva urge of the religious equality, which is they are offering. New way of defining urge of the society and requirement of the society.
Thank you so much for this conversation, and we wish you all the best with the book. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you, Priya.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.